A galactic alliance of ancient civilizations ruled the known universe, considering themselves the peak of evolution. Their fleets spanned entire star systems, their technology was centuries ahead of most species, and their policies ensured that lesser civilizations never became a threat. Among the countless worlds they monitored, Earth was a forgotten, backwater planet, classified as primitive and unworthy of notice. When the Alliance first detected Earth's radio signals, they barely took note. Humanity had just begun to explore their own solar system, their technology crude compared to the interstellar titans that dominated the stars. The Galactic Council saw no need to interfere. They had seen many species rise and fall without ever reaching the stars in any meaningful way. They assumed Earth would be the same. But there were those who saw things differently. A minor bureaucrat within the Galactic Census Department, Van, had studied human history out of curiosity. He found their rapid technological growth unusual. Unlike most species, who took thousands of years to transition from primitive industry to spacefaring status, humanity had done it in mere centuries. Their wars, brutal and unrelenting, had forged a species that thrived under pressure. Their adaptability and ingenuity were unlike anything he had ever seen. When he presented his concerns to his superiors, they dismissed him. Humans, they claimed, were self-destructive. They warred among themselves constantly. They lacked unity. They would never pose a threat to the galaxy. So when Earth's first true interstellar vessel broke past the limits of their solar system and activated its first crude warp drive, the Galactic Council remained unconcerned. It was a single ship, after all, no different from the thousands of others that had come before it. They believed humanity would follow the same pattern as others, make contact, struggle to keep up, and eventually submit to the status quo. They were wrong. The moment humanity discovered alien life, their response was not fear but determination. The realization that they were not alone ignited a fire in them unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Within decades, they reverse-engineered alien technology, improved upon it, and began producing ships at an unprecedented rate. While other civilizations spent centuries refining their methods, humanity learned, adapted, and evolved at an exponential pace. The first real test came when a minor galactic faction, the Kelsaran Dominion, attempted to annex a human colony. They had done the same to dozens of fledgling species before. The response had always been surrender or destruction. But humanity did not surrender. The battle that followed shocked the galaxy. The Kelsaran forces, superior in both firepower and numbers, found themselves overwhelmed by human tactics. Humans fought with a brutality and efficiency that defied all logic. Their ships, though seemingly inferior, moved unpredictably, adapting in real time. Their weapons, modified from reverse-engineered alien tech, packed a devastating punch. The Kelsaran fleet, confident in their supremacy, was annihilated. Not a single human vessel was lost. The Galactic Council could no longer ignore Earth. Humanity had proven something that defied everything the Council had believed, that even the most primitive species, given the right conditions, could become a force beyond reckoning. As the news spread, many within the Alliance laughed. The Kelsarans were weak, they claimed. Their defeat meant nothing. Humanity was still just an upstart race, a minor nuisance at best. But some among the Council, those who had studied human history, began to worry. They saw the patterns, the same patterns that had played out on Earth for millennia. Every time humans encountered a greater force, they adapted. They grew stronger. They never stayed weak for long. And now, for the first time in galactic history, an underestimated species had done something unthinkable. They had won. The Galactic Council convened an emergency session for the first time in centuries. The destruction of the Kelsaran fleet had sent shockwaves through the Alliance. A backwater species, barely out of their own solar system, had managed to not only resist an annexation attempt but completely wipe out a superior force. The implications were staggering. High Chancellor Vorek of the Zervani Empire, the most powerful civilization in the Alliance, was the first to speak. He dismissed the threat. Humans had caught the Kelsarans off guard, nothing more. They were still technologically inferior. The Council's response, he insisted, should be swift and absolute. Humanity was to be pacified before they could become a legitimate danger. Others were not so sure. Ambassador Lirin of the Korlak Syndicate had studied the human battle reports. Their tactics were unlike anything the Council had ever seen. Their ships, though outmatched individually, had fought with an unpredictable ferocity that overwhelmed their opponents. They adapted mid-battle, changed strategies on the fly, and exploited weaknesses with terrifying efficiency. This was not the behavior of a primitive species stumbling into the stars. This was the behavior of a predator. The debate raged for days, but the outcome was inevitable. The Council would not allow a rogue species to disrupt the galactic order. Humanity would be given a single warning: submit to the Council's authority or be eradicated. The message was sent via an automated probe, arriving in Earth's orbit with a simple ultimatum. Humanity's response came within hours. No. The Council was stunned. Most species, when confronted with the might of the Alliance, either submitted or stalled for time. Humans did neither. Their response was not negotiation, not an attempt at diplomacy, but outright defiance. Fleet Admiral Kellen of the Zervani took immediate action. A strike force was dispatched to enforce the ultimatum. The fleet consisted of veteran warships, battle-hardened commanders, and enough firepower to level entire planets. It was a show of force, a reminder that resistance was futile. But humanity had been preparing. When the Zervani fleet arrived in Sol, they did not find a helpless species scrambling to defend itself. They found an armada waiting for them. Humanity had studied every engagement in galactic history, learned every strength and weakness of their potential enemies, and built their fleet accordingly. The battle that followed was unlike anything the Alliance had ever witnessed. Human ships fought in ways that defied conventional tactics. They used swarm maneuvers, electronic warfare, and experimental weapons designed specifically to counter the Zervani's strengths. Their forces moved in coordinated chaos, striking from unexpected angles, sacrificing ships to lure enemies into traps. For the first time in recorded history, a Galactic Council fleet was forced into retreat. The aftermath was chaos. The Alliance could no longer deny reality: humanity was not a mere anomaly. They were a growing threat, one that refused to be controlled. And worst of all, they were learning. The Council scrambled to form a new plan, but it was already too late. Humanity had sent a message of their own. We are coming. The Galactic Council was in disarray. The defeat of the Zervani fleet had sent shockwaves through the Alliance, shattering the illusion of invincibility they had held for millennia. Never before had an empire as powerful as the Zervani been forced to retreat, and yet humanity had done it without breaking a sweat. Worse still, humans had captured several enemy warships intact, stripping them down, studying their technology, and adapting it at an unprecedented rate. While the Council debated their next move, humanity was already making theirs. The first sign of trouble came when a Zelvan trade convoy vanished near the outer rim. Then an automated listening post on the edge of Alliance space went dark. Patrol ships were sent to investigate but never returned. The Council assumed it was a rogue faction, pirates, or perhaps a malfunction in the relay systems. Then humanity made their presence known. A single human warship, heavily modified with reverse-engineered Zervani and Kelsaran technology, entered the Jorvac system, one of the most secure trade hubs in the Alliance. It moved like no ship had ever moved before, ignoring standard jump lanes, using unpredictable warp trajectories, and appearing directly inside the system's security perimeter. Before the defense fleet could react, the human vessel broadcasted a simple message on all frequencies. You underestimated us. You thought we were weak. Now, you will learn. Then, with surgical precision, the human ship disabled the orbital defense grid, crippled the shipyards, and annihilated the command station, all within minutes. Not a single shot was fired in retaliation. The human vessel disappeared before reinforcements could arrive, leaving nothing but wreckage and a warning. The Alliance now understood the true horror of their mistake. Humanity wasn't just fighting back. They were waging war in a way no species had ever done before. They didn't move like the great armadas of the Council, lumbering and methodical. They struck from the shadows, dismantling infrastructure, targeting supply lines, and crippling the very foundation of the Alliance's power. Entire fleets were rendered useless as their fuel depots mysteriously exploded, their communication relays went silent, and their command centers were infiltrated and dismantled from within. And then came the most terrifying realization of all: humanity had never been a united species before. For centuries, they had fought amongst themselves, divided by borders and ideologies. But now, for the first time in their history, they had a common enemy. The full force of human ingenuity, strategy, and warfare was no longer aimed at themselves. It was aimed at the stars. The Council's most powerful leaders met in secret, discussing desperate options. Some argued for peace, hoping to negotiate before it was too late. Others demanded an all-out war, a full-scale extermination of humanity before they became unstoppable. But deep down, they all knew the truth. It was already too late. The war had changed. What began as an attempt to pacify a minor species had become a nightmare the Galactic Council could no longer contain. Every tactic they had relied on for centuries was useless. Their fleets, designed for large-scale battles, were too slow. Their strategies, built on overwhelming force, were countered before they could even be executed. Their intelligence networks, once infallible, were now compromised by a species that had spent its entire existence mastering the art of deception and warfare. Humanity did not fight for territory. They did not hold planets, nor did they seek to expand their borders like the empires of old. Instead, they dismantled the Council's power structure piece by piece, striking where it hurt the most. Key infrastructure collapsed overnight. Council-controlled corporations found themselves under cyber attack, their credits drained, their supply lines disrupted. Entire warships, once thought untouchable, were found adrift, their crews missing, their systems fried beyond repair. The worst blow came when the humans executed Operation Phantom. Deep inside the core worlds of the Alliance, in a system that had never known war, sat the Council's primary data nexus. It was the heart of their intelligence network, containing centuries of classified information, fleet deployments, research data, and the private dealings of the most powerful figures in the galaxy. It was protected by an impenetrable security grid, hidden behind layers of defenses that had never been breached. But humans didn't care about impenetrable. No one knew how they got past the security perimeter, how they bypassed the most advanced firewalls in existence, or how they extracted every last piece of classified data without leaving a trace. By the time the Council realized what had happened, the damage was irreversible. The stolen data was not used for blackmail, nor was it held for ransom. Humanity simply broadcasted it to every major faction in the galaxy. Secrets that had been buried for centuries were now exposed. Corruption, war crimes, illegal experiments, betrayals, and conspiracies, all of it laid bare for the entire galaxy to see. Civilizations that had been allies for thousands of years turned against each other overnight. Revolts broke out on dozens of Council-controlled worlds. Military leaders, once thought loyal, abandoned their posts. The Alliance, built on the illusion of stability, was collapsing from within. The Council called an emergency war summit, the last desperate attempt to salvage what little control they had left. The most powerful figures in the galaxy gathered in a hidden location, away from prying eyes. They debated for days, arguing over solutions, searching for a way to turn the tide. But it was already too late. The summit was never secret. The humans knew exactly where they were. And they were already on their way. The Galactic Council War Summit was held in the most secure location in the universe, a hidden station orbiting a black hole, shielded from all known tracking methods, protected by the best military minds in the Alliance. Every entry point was guarded, every possible approach monitored. No force had ever breached it. And yet, humanity was already inside. No one knew how they got past the security layers. No alarms were triggered, no ships detected. The station's defenses remained fully operational, until they weren't. In an instant, every system shut down. The lights flickered, the gravity stabilizers failed, the defense grid collapsed. Panic spread as leaders and officers scrambled for answers, their voices rising in confusion. Then, without warning, a message appeared on every screen, every personal device, every emergency channel. "We are here." The doors to the council chamber slid open, and they entered. Not an army, not a fleet, just 3 humans in advanced combat suits, moving with absolute precision. The guards raised their weapons, but before a single shot could be fired, the security turrets turned on them instead. Every automated system, designed to protect the most powerful beings in the galaxy, now answered to humanity. One of the humans, their leader, stepped forward. Their voice was calm, devoid of arrogance or hatred. "You believed yourselves untouchable. You built this empire on control, on fear, on the assumption that no one could challenge you. But you were wrong." The council members, beings who had ruled for millennia, sat frozen, unable to comprehend what was happening. The human continued. "You saw us as primitives, as a minor species barely worth notice. You tried to crush us before we could rise. But you didn't understand what we are." Another pause, deliberate and heavy. "We are not conquerors. We are not here to rule. We are here to end you." And with that, the screens changed again. Every major faction, every remaining fleet commander, every planetary governor, the entire galaxy, was now watching the broadcast. The council, once feared and untouchable, was exposed, powerless before 3 individuals who represented an entire species. The human leader turned, walking away without another word. The others followed, vanishing as silently as they had arrived. And then, the station's core detonated. The most secure location in the galaxy, the heart of an empire that had ruled for eons, was erased in an instant. The Galactic Council was no more. And humanity had just begun. The death of the Galactic Council sent the Alliance into chaos. The power structure that had ruled for millennia was gone, leaving a void that no species was prepared to fill. Entire empires fractured overnight. Civil wars erupted across countless worlds as former allies turned on each other, scrambling for control. But humanity did not claim the throne. While the remaining factions fought among themselves, the humans moved with purpose. They did not invade planets, nor did they establish colonies in conquered territory. Instead, they dismantled the old order piece by piece. The great shipyards of the Zervani, once capable of producing fleets that spanned entire systems, were destroyed in surgical strikes. The financial networks that had funded centuries of oppression collapsed as human cyber warfare teams erased entire economies with the push of a button. One by one, the pillars of the old galaxy fell. Some species, seeing the futility of resistance, surrendered. But to their shock, humanity did not demand their servitude. Instead, they were given a choice: rebuild their civilizations free of the Council's corruption, or fade into irrelevance. Many took the offer, desperate to avoid extinction. Others, consumed by pride, attempted to fight on. None of them lasted. It became clear to the galaxy that humanity was not here to conquer. They were here to reset the board. And then, as suddenly as they had risen, humanity vanished from the galactic stage. Their fleets, once feared across the stars, withdrew. Their agents, who had infiltrated every major power, disappeared without a trace. Planets that had been under their control found themselves unoccupied, left to govern themselves as they saw fit. The great empires of old were gone. And in their place, a new galaxy was born. For the first time in recorded history, no single power ruled the stars. No empire dictated the fate of lesser species. Trade routes were open to all, technological advancements were shared instead of hoarded, and conflicts were settled through diplomacy rather than war. It was not peace, not entirely. Old grudges still remained, and new struggles would always arise. But one truth echoed across the stars, a lesson learned in blood and fire. Never again would the galaxy underestimate humanity. For they had not come to conquer. They had come to break the chains. Years passed, and the scars of the old order faded into history. The galaxy, once ruled by an iron-fisted council, had transformed into something new. Worlds that had once been subjugated now thrived under their own rule. Species that had never known freedom now determined their own futures. But the question remained, where had humanity gone? Their fleets had vanished, their worlds silent. They had not claimed any territory, nor demanded tribute from those they had freed. It was as if they had simply stepped back into the shadows, leaving the galaxy to find its own way. Rumors spread of human agents still moving unseen, guiding events from the darkness. Some whispered that they had hidden among the stars, watching, waiting. Others believed they had moved beyond the known galaxy, pushing into the great unknown, searching for the next horizon to conquer. One thing was certain, no species, no empire, no civilization ever forgot the lesson humanity had taught them. When the galaxy had underestimated Earth, it had nearly cost them everything. Now, whenever a new power rose, whenever an ambitious leader sought to dominate the stars, they remembered the silent force that had once brought the mighty to their knees. And in the quiet corners of the universe, in forgotten transmissions and encrypted messages, a single phrase remained, a warning, a promise, a reminder. We are still here.